I'ma make the stacks blow, rolling smoke out my nose, leaning on the console.
I ain't seen no asphalt in about 10 miles.
Okay. I see the look you're giving me, man.
What's up, guys?
Per popular demand, we brought that original long cut song back.
That's right.
It's just, listen, it's a great song, great vibe, and I do enjoy that vibe for our podcast. Gets all my feel goods going.
It's good. It's a Friday, man.
It is a Friday
vibes.
Yeah, man. And we that other song that we had, Breaking Chains, was good. And we had that on because we wanted to promote these guys that were they're also putting out more music, and they're getting ready to go back on tour since all the COVID restrictions are lifting and all that. So JT's out there working his butt off, man. Talked to him today and the other day, and all cool stuff. But we promoted that song for a little bit, let people know, especially during COVID, that they were just still working on music and still being proactive. So it was fun to promote some other songs of theirs. But man, that original Long Kiss song just kissed me right in my what do you call it? Not my nuts. Right in my soul.
Your loins.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, man.
Welcome to Day 1 $0 podcast, guys.
Go ahead and get your little speech out.
That's it.
Eli's a salesman. Go ahead and get your little YouTube out. Hey, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podcasts, Google Play.
There you go.
Facebook, wherever you guys want to listen. Like it if you like it. Give it a listen. We appreciate you guys. We've had a lot of fun with it. We've gotten a lot of we scaled pretty well, man, especially after being on Real AF with Annie Frisella and Sal Frisella. Really great podcast, and that definitely launched us into that next level where we've had a lot of downloads on our podcast. And just first and foremost, appreciate everybody that's listening. And I'm getting a lot of reach outs on Instagram from some folks that listen, and they reach out with questions. I'm still doing those one-on-one FaceTimes on Instagram on Sundays, and just hearing about people's life and what they're doing and where they're winning and where their struggles are at, but just people getting after it. And it's fun to just link up with folks that are kind of in our sphere. And one of those guys, he's not going to talk yet. He gets to talk when we say he gets to talk. One of those guys, a little shit talker. Good dude. He's here, man. We're going to tell his story here in a minute, but we've got a guy who's been following us on Instagram, and, big Annie Frisella fan as well, but just another dude, man, getting after it. And it's going to be super fun to have him on today. He was in town for some other stuff, but wanted to have him on the podcast, make sure it was fun and all that good stuff. But, man, we're excited for it. Today we're going to be talking about circles and just your support structure and what that really looks like, at least for us. So we're not going to be sitting here telling you guys what your circle should look like, how you should be handling your relationships, whether it's significant other or family members or whatever it may be. We're not going to tell you what you should be doing. I understand that a lot of these things are going to be predicated on specific circumstances. However, we are going to have the conversation on what works for us, a lot of similarities between us that we share as far as our circles, where our circle's kind of going now and how we've protected that and just maintain our integrity with it in order to get to that next level, and hopefully that's beneficial. But speaking of circles, man, our buddy Ryan is here today.
What's going on, guys?
He wants to talk already, huh? I'm going to talk so much shit
Ready to go.
Well, first and foremost, he said, hey, man, you think if once I'm at Denver and I'm kicking ass and doing a great job, you think you'd, man, I want to work toward being on the podcast. I think I have a good story, and hey, by then I'll be ready for it. And I said, stop talking shit. He's in our little lounge area. I said, stop talking shit, get your ass on the podcast. And little did he know we were going to have him on. We spoke about it last night. But a little bit of background on that, and we'll kind of get into circles, but it's super predicated on circles. If you guys don't know, we do a lot of real estate. That's our profession. But we've got some private Facebook groups. We've got YouTube channels for it. We give a lot of content away for free.
Legit agents. Go check it out. For you in real estate, Legit Agents on Facebook. Search groups.
He's such a salesman. That's where I learned all this salesman stuff from.
Jesus, yeah.
So we do a lot of that, and I'm super appreciative to even be in a position where people think that our advice is worth it, and they absorb our content. The downside sometimes, the frustration of it is, we get a ton of people in there, and we get a ton of questions, and I do a ton of Sunday calls. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people doubt themselves, not put the work in, create excuses, and they're doing a lot of everything but just getting fucking after it, right? And like, man, that can kind of weigh on you sometimes when you're trying to give a ton of content, because you see people and where they're limiting themselves, and you just want to like, oh man, like just put these distractions here and stop putting so much emotion behind decisions that you want to make, and just understand it's going to be uncomfortable and scary and hard and time consuming and still may not fucking work, but you got to get after it. And once you start figuring that out, man, like the rewards on the other side, even if they don't come right away, just the fact that you're getting after every day, the pride that comes from that, and it's huge. And a lot of people just, those fears or those obstacles hold them back. And I get way more of that. And I'm sure a lot of folks who Andy Frisella's talked about it. I get way more of that versus the couple ones that creep through that are crushing. And I get a video from Ryan one day on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey man, what's up? You'll probably never see this, but dude, I've been following the page. I've been following your guys' podcast and taking the advice you guys have. I'm in real estate as well, and I've been applying everything that you guys have been teaching, and I just got my first closing. So just wanted to say thank you." Man, that hit me on a day that was just like, people were just kind of like just not getting after it. Probably several weeks of that. And I heard that. I was like, I don't even fucking know this kid. He never asked me a question. He never got on a Sunday FaceTime. He never took my time up. He just took what we were already giving, applied that thought, got after it, got his first closing, and now he's got some other folks under contract. And so he's new to the game, but he's hustling, he's getting it. And so, man, I thought that was cool. So we connected on social media after that. And it jazzes me up. And, hey, man, make sure you take your family out. And, and hey, this is a special one. Like, thank your wife for support. We're going to get into this stuff today, too. So that's why your story is kind of relevant for today. But, I thought that was cool. We kept connecting. And then his wife, she hit me up, and she was like, hey, I want to surprise him for his birthday. And he talks about you guys and what you're doing and where you're going. And would you guys, it's okay if it's a no, but would you guys be open to Ryan coming out to Denver to just visit you guys and just kind of see what you guys are all about and this and that? And every other time it's been a no, because we don't let anybody
every other time.
Well, and man, like I'm not, it's just because it's like, I don't know if it's going to be mildly interesting or how much you're going to benefit from it, because you just don't know what you don't know. So if you're hearing us talking to clients, but you don't have any context of why we do what we do, you might not be picking up what I'm doing. And when I'm with clients, this is kind of how I compare it. Like, you got Albert Pujols, right? Veteran baseball player, phenomenal baseball player. If he's in the dugout, I'm sure he can give advice on hitting or playing the game and how to approach the game. And I feel like, I'm not saying I'm Albert Pujols, but I am saying we're still practitioners. We are not a coach. We're not coaches. We're practitioners. Albert Pujols is not a coach. He's a practitioner. He still plays ball, but he's a super veteran guy, and I'm sure he gives advice in the dugout. But when it's his time to go up to bat, that's not his time to explain to anybody anything. That's his time to perform for the team, correct? Well, that's how I see it when we're with our relationships or we're with our clients. Hey, we're at bat. I'm tuned in to you, and I'm focused on you, and I'm paying attention to you and what you need and how we're going to execute something. I don't have the time in that moment, nor do I think it's fair to a client that I'm absorbing this in order to direct it to someone else to explain to them context and what I'm doing. I'm going to miss something like this. Hey, I'm getting paid to perform here, so I'm going to perform. But we had some events that were the way we schedule it. We had some team events and some other things outside of just clients that we were doing that he could absorb. And yeah, man, we own our own shit. So if we want to call an exception and call an audible and let somebody come, that's on us, and I just thought he was a good dude. And so he's out here for a couple of days, and we happen to be doing a podcast, and we thought it was cool. Andy Frisella thought we were good dudes when he was on ours, thought we were doing some cool stuff. He's just like, yeah, come on mine. And that lifted us. That was huge for us, Absolutely. Right? And it was no more than just, hey, you guys are good fucking dudes that are doing some great shit. I want to bring you on. And it was like, wow, Andy, you're fucking cool. So part of this is just emulating who we look up to, and, man, just letting good dudes be around the mic and be around the business and bringing everybody up alongside of us, and it's cool when you see guys getting at it. So long story long, that's our context with Ryan and kind of where he came from. And he's going to be on a couple years from now because he's already talking shit about how much he's going to crush. So I'm fine with that. So his ass will be on here in a couple years, and it better be improvement from where he's at right now.
Hell yeah.
Ryan,
what's up, dude?
What's up, guys? Hey, thank you so much for having me out here. It's been a blast. Learned a lot.
Listen. Bring it back to me. Cut that awesome Southern accent and cut the good looks right fucking now, okay? We already know you're like Florida Georgia Line, and you fucking talk cute, and you're trying to. I can already feel the vibe. He's trying to take over Day 1.0.
I know, dude.
Let me be clear, young buck.
Hey, yesterday he told me, he said, you're like a TikTok girl with a big butt. And then they try to turn around and sell you on how they did it when it was really just a big butt. So that's good.
It's not what I said.
I think he's looking at my butt.
Here's what I did say. I did look at it. Could be better, but you got a pretty face. Here's what I did say. When it was context of jokes when we were at Topgolf with the team, but it was like we were talking about people that get a lot of attention, because of their looks, but then when they talk to you, they try to give you this runaround on scientifically how they're operating on the back end of their YouTube and their Instagram. Yeah, it's like, nah, bro, or nah, girl, You just got a fat booty and every teenager on the planet follows you. Like, stop talking to me about writing code or some back-end Instagram stinky shit. You like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Just, hey, this is just it.
Just embrace it.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. Well,
Embrace
you
it.
got all the qualities, man.
Well,
We'll see.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so going
Big surprise.
Go into that a little bit, man. Like, because a lot of realtors listen to us, a lot of entrepreneurs listen to us. We haven't made it yet, which is great because I think we're at that like intermediate varsity level where we're on the come up and we're doing a lot of great things, but we're still obtainable for other people. You know, like a lot of these other guys, the Grant Cardones, the Annie Frisellas, the Ed Milet's, it's not to take away from their success. It's almost like they're so high. A lot of folks, it's just like, it's out of reach. It's just intangible for them versus like, I think where we're at, a lot of people can relate to our grind and where we're at more. And again, it's not because those guys didn't grind like, of course they did. They're just so successful. It's hard to relate to, you know, even with the best of imaginations, it's hard. But I think like Kim and I are still there. And man, your story right now of like deciding to leave your landscape stuff and venture into real estate and what you're doing, a lot of people are going to relate to that too. Yeah. So like prior to like hitting me up, you know, and like making that decision, what did that look like for you? Yeah,
man, I got a college degree. You know, tried that. It's a geology degree. Thought it was gonna be oil and gas.
Geology, huh?
Yeah. I'm really not smart. I could do the system.
I know. I know.
But got out. You know, thought oil and gas was it. I'm from Texas, and so that's kind of the culture. Did that. You know, didn't really love the structure of like, you know, people saying, hey, there's raises on the come up. You can have raises. You can have promotions. You know, years later, that's not there. So I took that and said, you know what, I'm gonna make my own, you know, make my own path. Started a lawn and landscape business. That was good. Never got to the point of scaling to hire people, which is one of those lessons you learn. And you're like, you know what, if I'm ever gonna start a business again, there's got to be structure. There's got to be a way that like you can step out and it still run. September of last year, I was playing basketball. That was a huge mistake because I don't play basketball. Not good at it. Don't try to be good at it. I just went out and played and ended up tearing my Achilles.
Damn.
Completely tore it. That was like 3.5 months of not walking. My son actually learned to walk while I couldn't walk, which was that was crazy.
So you're not doing landscaping.
Not doing landscaping. Yeah. In that moment, it was like laying on the basketball court thinking, dude, my whole life is just flipped upside down.
Was your wife bringing in income at the time?
My wife is pregnant, and she wasn't working, which is what I wanted. You know, and it was just one of those moments of like, shit, this is real.
And this is when you already had your landscaping business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This was full going on landscaping.
But if you can't work, you can't make money?
Yep.
Is that kind of how it was?
That's it. Okay. That's it. I didn't scale to a point of having employees. And so in that moment, it was like, what do we do? You know, and that's whenever like the entrepreneur minded is like, we have to pivot. If we don't pivot, we die.
Is she the kind of wife that was like, oh, hey, you know, how are you okay? Or is she kind of like, hey,
figured out
what the fuck is the matter with you playing basketball?
No, man, she's a freaking rock star. She grew up in the medical stuff, and so like that doesn't freak her out. Life sometimes freaks her out. She's like, okay, you know, the reality of what's really going on is really scary, but she's like in this moment, like, hey, it's gonna be cool. We're gonna figure it out. And I'm freaking out, like, you know, what do we do? And she went back to work, and I was a stay-at-home dad, which was freaking humbling.
Oh my gosh!
So she's going back to work, pregnant, and with a 1-year-old or something.
Yeah, she's a PTA, physical therapy assistant.
Yeah,
she went back to work at a nursing home, which freaking sucks. No matter what, the culture's terrible there. The patients are terrible. She went back to work, made it work. We made it work. But thank God I already had the schooling for real estate behind me. When I got hurt, it was just like, here it is, let's pivot. So I studied, you know, went and took the test. I walked in there with my crutches, you know, took the test, and everyone's like, what happened? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's all good.
He played that victim card to get his license done.
Yeah, parked in the handicap parking. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I didn't figure out how to get one of those little tags. Yeah. But, you know, went and took the test, passed, came out and got a listing, you know, right off the bat. It was good timing. My parents were moving, and it was like, hey, let's figure this stuff out. And working, you know, with family in your first sell is kind of intimidating because you're figuring it out, but you also feel like, you know, that's your parents. You want to make them proud.
You're sitting there with your dad. He's like helping you go through the contract.
No, I've got great mentors back home, but man, it was it was huge also just to have that support. They're like, hey, we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
It all worked out, but man, real estate has been awesome. There's been a lot of good people like you guys that I've found that's like, these are the dudes. And from me to y'all are the dudes. Y'all are out here doing it. Y'all are real. Y'all aren't trying to be something that you're not.
Nope.
If people don't mess with y'all are cool with it. And for me that's big. Because I don't ever want to be like in a situation where I've faked it into a situation and now I'm like, I got to continue to play this.
It's that whole keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
In a different manner of like, now I just have to like learn how to keep this whole image that I have that people liked.
Yeah.
I got to keep it up, and if people aren't into us, I'm not like fuck them. No, I'm just like, hey man, if you're not into us, if we're not your jive, like, hey, cool, man, like that's cool. Like, just go find people that are your jive, right? Like, you don't owe me anything, and I understand I'm not for everybody. And hey, guess what? You're not for everybody either. Right? If everybody's just a little bit more honest and has some self-awareness, and when it comes from a good place of like, man, if we're just not your flavor, if you can't learn from us, man, that's cool, just great, because then you've got to be resourceful enough to go find who you can learn from.
And man, that is so important too, just to be comfortable being yourself. Because I was talking to that agent this morning on a Zoom call about that, and he was saying that about, it's like, man, you're exactly how you are in your videos. And I'm like, yeah, dude. And I'm like selfishly, we do it for our business, because man, people are filtering themselves. Yeah, like, man, if you're too afraid to be yourself, first of all, you're not going to appeal to anybody. But then second of all, man, you're just going to be working with people you don't want to work with.
And how do you keep it consistent, man? Yeah. If you're not being yourself, like, how do you remember, like if I have to be Eli one day, I'm thinking about,
you could probably do that pretty good.
Oh man, no. Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind like getting free lunches every goddamn day. That'd be never having to buy a meal. God. Don't get me started. I have a great time with that. But like, just trying to answer, like, how would Eli answer, or something like, man, that's just, or just
a lot.
When you're not even emulating anybody at all, you're just imitating like a certain genre of people.
Yeah,
like,
what you think you need to be.
The bottom line is, I think where you find a lot of self-awareness is, like, for me, it was like, be uber good at what you do, know everything about real estate, be great at the practitioner side, and then whoever you are, just let it bleed through and be yourself. And when everything comes from a good place and you have the best of intentions for people and doing the right thing is always the right thing, just, your personality and your poise tends to flow in the right way, because you're putting people first, and you've put the weight of being a professional on you, knowing that the best level of care has to go to people. Whoever comes out of that happens to be my personality, it goes pretty well.
And for the longest time, man, I didn't want to, if like someone made a joke about smoking weed or something, I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't chime in. I wouldn't and I'm like, man, that is just me. In real life, we got clients asking you for weed. I know. But man, and that's one thing, like, just being around you has allowed me to be myself more. And man, it's only just done crazy shit for our business.
There's been a lot of good to it, but man, like, I've butted heads with friends, right? Like close friends, here and there, and like, not that like I'm free of any fault or anything like that, but even at the sacrifice of good friends colliding and, risking intimacy or something with a friend, that just like, man, that was just a reaction you got out of me. And then here's where my mind went, and then, hey, man, we don't talk for a couple weeks. Like, here's where my mind was at. And man, not a take it or leave it situation, but like, hey, I'm not expecting you to agree with everything I have to say, and don't expect me to agree with everything you have to say, but just trying to understand each other. And I was gifted with that not too long ago with the, because we had a disagreement, and the way that I saw it was different than how he saw it. And then, we got back to it, we had a conversation about it, and he understood where I was coming from, and I got a lot better at listening to him and where he was coming from. And then the conversation was more about understanding, not trying to one up each other, right? Not trying to be right, but just be heard and understood, and then just giving each other benefit of doubt. That like, man, we've never had that issue before, and I bet we understand each other a lot better now moving forward.
Yep.
And then move forward. But every once in a while it'll cause friction, and I think the number one thing you can do for your, with yourself, that's credit to your circle, if you do respect your circle, or if you've moved into a circle, is there was takeaways there that were beyond whether I was right or wrong. And it was more about, in the future, what could be top of mind, what control measures could be top of mind that could help adjust my reaction that maybe doesn't take it somewhere it doesn't have to go. Whether I think I'm okay for letting it go there or not, how can it not go there in the future, right? And like those are big responsibilities you should put on yourself. And like that person is super important to me. So it was good to learn from that. But here's the other thing. The other half of that is credit to that person that is also wise enough to just hear me and understand me, and then speak his part. And if he wasn't that quality and loving of a dude, would I even be able to have that conversation and understanding from him at all? Right. So it's like, man, what a close relationship that is. And then great. So think about that, because that's an important guy in the circle, and it's not to like change who you are or anything like that, but it's just really here to like getting better for those type of people. But then just realizing how they reciprocate a lot of that behavior for you. And it's like, man, that's more than a gift than you might think, and then boil that down to you and I. Man, I've had to understand you. You've had to understand me. And as much as like, it's nice to be understood. Yeah. It's just so rare that people are even in a mature, secure place with themselves where they will understand and accept you and continue to grow and move with you as well. Like it's not, people aren't always open to that. There's a lot of takers that are out there, and like you're not fortunate to have it.
Ryan, I'm sure you're going to be facing a lot of that, man. Small town in Texas, probably not everyone has the same mindset as you do. Right. Your circle out there might be a little different than our circle out here. What does that look like for you in that small town, man? And do you have support? Do you not have support? You've been tossing around the idea of maybe moving to Denver a little bit. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, man. Support from a family standpoint is super high. But as far as the culture of the town I'm in, and I'm sure some of them will listen to this, but if the shoe fits, wear it. But they just don't have aspirations to really better themselves. They're okay with just getting by. I think y'all described it just kind of like that old conservative, like we have enough mentality. Good enough, I think that hits it on the head. And so whenever you do have these desires to do things in life that are maybe, out there, I don't feel like they're out there, but to some, having desires to make enough money to give back substantially, not just to be like, hey, I tithe 10% to the church and, that's what I do to give back. Like I want to make big differences.
10% to a church sounds heavy.
But it's just one of those things that the culture doesn't cultivate this feeling of like, let's go get better, like in big ways. It's like, hey, I made 6 figures, I made $100,000, and so I went and bought a $70,000 truck. Like that doesn't make sense to me, but that's the culture. And so for me, coming out here has been super eye-opening. Just like the good dudes that I've met that are like big dogs, to me, they're just big dogs.
Oh, they're big dogs to us too, man. Like we're at dinner the other day, and I won't mention any names because they wouldn't want me to mention their names in this light. And it's not a negative light, but we go to one of my favorite places where some of myself and some guys that we have relationships with, we go there 2-3 times a week. And ironically, a lot of our dudes were there the same night. So we were meeting with one of our close friends, and he knew he was coming. But then there's other people that started merging in, and man, there's probably 25 million a year plus just from the five people that he met. Substantial, good, high level, just humans. But it was good because they were asking him stuff. Hey man, what are your pain points and what do you struggle with, and what are you really driving to be? Like, it seems like cliche questions, but when it comes from a super proficient, just great, like the weight of someone saying like, hey, what are your pain points? The weight that a super successful guy carries when he says that to you versus just one of your buddies small talking to you. It's a different language, 100%. And it was good for him to hear that. And then like everyone was happy to help, like that was something that you mentioned the other day of like, yeah, man, we've got some guys that have kind of won back where I come from, but they don't really talk about it. They don't really say how they won. And like out here, with some of our, and I don't know if that's a Denver thing. I don't want to say that because I don't have enough experience to say that Denver's that way, but I can't say the people we're around, the top 10 people in my phone that are super important to me, right? Like the Gavin Ekstroms, the Scott Lefferts, the Brian Shantoshes, the Sal and Andy Frisellas. If I have a question, like within reason of their own time, right? Let's not get weird. They would help me. It would help me. And it wouldn't be the third degree, you said a lot but didn't say shit kind of thing. No, they would help. And like, I think we try to pay it forward the same way. But there is a really cool energy we've got here in Denver where like, and there's a lot of guys winning, and they're also like happy to, dude. We like Gavin. Man, like he's hired people that are friends of mine for the dialing stuff or for TC work. Like he created a position there for a close friend of mine who does TC work that's looking at like the loan processing but wanted to stay in TC work. And he was looking at getting innovative and providing TC work to real estate agents and was kind of doing some cool stuff with it and how to get it approved. I think like legally and some things like that. But long story short, man, like she's a great human and he created the position for her. Like the fuck do you want me to say to that? You know, and it's like, wow, cool, man. Like, and of course it benefits his work, but he's also, you know, like every time he talks to me, he's like, hey, man, we will invent stuff. We just want good people here.
Right.
If we get good people in this company, we will win.
Yep.
And it's like, man, how cool is that? But he's, you know, that's just really cool of him.
One of the things I want to stress to people listening here is you're a perfect example of, I mean, so many people are going to be reflecting on where they're from and, hey, I'm just, you know, people around here just don't do this and this. Hey, you've got to be intentional about the circles that you create around yourself and putting yourself in those places. And you know what that looked like for me? For me, I didn't have anyone influential in my life, but I knew Gavin from the gym. I was personal training. He was the client of a different trainer, wasn't even my client, but I saw him in there crushing all the time. And I walked up, said what up to him. And then, man, we ended up in Cancun together randomly. And I told him, I said, man, I haven't had a boss in 10 years, but I want to come work for you. Whatever that looks like, I want to be around. And I went from being self-employed and I was flipping homes, I was personal training, and then I would do as much as I could in the morning before 9 a.m. and then I'd get to the office. And here I had a corporate job now where I'm wearing like my khakis and my button-up shirt and I have a boss and it's Gavin. And I barely got to see Gavin while I was there, but I got to be there and around the energy. And I literally picked up everything I was doing and I put myself in his circle. I physically put myself in his circle. And that's what started this whole domino effect of just real estate and being around good dudes, making real money, making a real impact with their families, with the people around them. And I remember, just to your point, like some random girl at the mortgage company, her good boyfriend would lose his job, and a week later he's working there and he's crushing. And it's like, I saw how one guy impacted family after family after family after family after family.
It's so
crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool, and it was all predicated on just like wanting good people to be around it. And you're right, man. Like you've got to be intentional with the circles you're putting around yourself. And I think before you go look for more, just see what you can take off your plate. Like if there's just folks that you go see on the weekends, and this is all cliche. Everyone's heard this before, right? Like the people that you hang around that are just toxic or talking about people or just drama or just aren't really getting after it. You don't have to remove yourself from those circles or from those people in a negative way. You don't have to bitch them out. You don't got to say like, oh, I'm moving on to better shit. You know, like it's not anything about that. Just stop spending as much time there and fill your plate with more productive shit. You know, like I can't remember one person that like I've maybe ventured away from a little bit and I've kind of ventured into these new circles and it was like this conversation I had to have with them. No. And man, I've still got friends from high school or from the Marine Corps or wherever that like I don't talk to all the time that maybe have different ambitions or just a different perspective or outlook on life with where they want to take it. And it's just not in line with mine. Doesn't make him a bad person. Doesn't mean anything. It just means that, hey, I probably don't have as much time to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, and hey man, if you're still out skateboarding, you know, and doing like, I'm probably not talking to you for dad advice or for marriage advice if you're not married. You know, like there's just, you start gravitating to new people and it's got nothing bad to say about anybody, but you start feeling the momentum of you talk to people less and less. You just have to let that be okay and go fill your plate with productive things. And like when you want to be around Gavin, like, well, go in there and get to work, right? And there was a job where like you had some skill sets that could marry up to a position he had. You get after it and you start creating those skill sets, you know, but it's huge, but then you also just have to give yourself permission for that, right? Like it's also a lot of support from yourself of being okay to just somewhat let go of these other relationships. And if they do confront you, like, oh man, we barely hang out anymore. Just like, hey man, it's not personal. This is a me thing, man. Like I've really got a lot that I want to get after and accomplish in life. And like right now, man, if I don't get after it and if I don't do it, I won't make it happen. And I don't have the time to go drink at the beer every Friday night. Right? I can't drink beers and go to the bar every Friday. I just can't do it anymore. Hey, I don't have time to play co-ed softball. I love it. You guys are awesome, but it's not in line with my goals and where I want to be and my ambitions. You know, like I got to be home reading real estate law. Oh, how boring is that? Like, yeah, man, I get it. But if I don't do this, I will live in quiet despair for a long time because unfortunately, as much as people keep saying you can start over and, you know, I know Gary Vee talks a lot about 60-year-old people starting over. It's true. It's just a lot fucking harder. a 60-year-old coming into real estate to be a brand new realtor right now is a lot different picture than you being 26 starting something, right? And it's not to say that you can't do it. What I am saying is if you've got some desires and you want to get after and get to work and you're feeling that now in your 20s or 30s or 40s, like if you can prevent having to do it then, hey, great, you know. But like, man, I was talking to a guy at the gym today, and really cool guy. And he was talking about a relationship that he's got, and won't mention any names. Not that it's drama, but you know, it's like it's the girlfriend thing. It's the like, man, she wants more time, and you know, and we've argued before, and she'll kind of like throw a low blow and like call what he's doing stupid or something. He's like, yeah, man, I know she doesn't mean it, and yeah, but she said it. Whether she's trying to piss you off or not, like she said it, and like, man, maybe she does mean that more than you'd like to think she does, because either way, it came out. You know, and he was asking me like how Kate and I get along so well, and I'm like, dude, I'm not always her favorite person, right? And she's not always my favorite person. She's probably my favorite person more often than I'm her favorite person. But the bottom line is, man, like we align with goals and ambitions and what it takes to grow. And no matter what we've ever argued about, it's never been about my time. It's never been about the commitment to what you and I are building. The flip side is what we're building is working. So when people do support you, you know, like an analogy I would give is like, hey, man, if you've been in the minor league baseball system for 9 years and you're 37 years old and you're still playing single A ball, making $1,500 on a bus, maybe it's time to give up minor league baseball, okay? Like maybe it's time to do something else. Yeah. And if you bitch at somebody for giving up your dream, hey, bro, I think you've got some self-talk that needs to happen, right? Yeah. But if you're accomplishing, if you're improving, and there's growth, and you're committed, but you're also proving the people who support you right, then that's what you're obligated to. And we were talking about it. I just said, man, like, you know, her dad is an entrepreneur, and he's done extraordinarily well, and to this day he still does extraordinarily well, and she kind of grew up in that culture, but she's got her ambitions with her career, and man, I don't really have an answer for it other than she knew who I was getting into it, and she understood that, and I understood. Like before her and I even had kids, man, she wanted to have a profession. She was working having a profession, so if we were going to have kids, she wasn't going to be the stay-at-home mom. And it's no disrespect to stay-at-home moms, right? I love them. They're important. That just didn't want to be her. Yeah. So what do we? Well, we moved close to in-laws, right? Grandma's retired. We can have, so grandma loves having her grandkids, you know, and so we figured out a way to make it work, but she just never like gone after me in that manner. But I told him, I said, hey man, I have had people in my life that have spoken similar to like what you're talking about, and like you just got to tread carefully. And the advice I gave him was like, hey man, you just can't be for sale. Okay. So like if someone, for whatever reason, like this topic of discussion, you're entertaining the discussion, which means that person might think you've got some wiggle room to give more time or stop doing what you're doing, you know, and hey man, if you start letting that wedge in over time, they're going to keep cracking it and cracking and cracking it. And if you sell your dream to appease someone else, you're going to start resenting them. That relationship's probably going to go south in a year or two from now anyway. And then you're going to look back on all the wasted time. So you just really have to see that for, man, you're not like your dreams cannot be for sale for a dollar amount or for, you know, relationships and someone that's expecting you to do that. You got to be careful. And the other thing I told him was, man, she might not realize the weight of what she's asking you because she's not an entrepreneur. She's not out taking charge and doing what you're doing and really trying to live that, you know? So I said, man, have that conversation. And the third thing I told him was, hey man, if you really look at what you're doing, you got to make sure every second of your day is productive because you probably could give her more time and not sacrifice your dream. Yeah. You know, like for us, man, like I try to hyper focus on my kids from 6 p.m. to like 8 or 8:30, right? And sometimes I get taken by calls or we're looking at title commitments or we're looking over contracts. Yeah. But for the most part, man, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, I can hit that little 2-hour window and be super present. I've been working on that this past year. And for the most part, man, like every day I can hit that window. But if one of our team agents call, they know if they call during that time, it's important because they're in a battle with a counter. They're submitting offers and they just need our help. And that's okay. But 4 to 5 out of 7 days a week, I can hit that 6 to 8:30 window, 6 to 8 window, right? And if I don't hit, and then the other days I'm not hitting it, I hit like an hour or an hour and a half instead of 2.5 hours. But I still hit like a chunk. And what you start figuring out was like you hyper-focus on your kids for an hour, like they stop talking to you. They go back to their iPads or playing with their fucking toys and like, cool, they just want you around. And then I'm still in the room, but it's just the fact that they know dad is here and watching and they can kind of show off and it's fun. But, you know, that's something that I really try to make an improvement on this year. And that's the same thing I told our buddy today was like, man, there could be a way where you could give her more time and you're not sacrificing your. So you just really have to do an audit on yourself before you tell people you're living your dream or whatever. It's like, hey, okay, but is every ounce of your day accounted for? Or are you like, for example, like, hey, man, during your day, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., right? Like, are you gaffing shit off and are you less organized? So now you're working at 8 o'clock at night when in reality it could have been done during your day?
Yeah.
If that's true, that's unfair. If it's not true, if it's you, man, you've been grinding from 6 a.m. all the way, organized, structured, you got so much to do during your day, and things still spoil over at night, you got to handle it. But, man, more times than not when we talk to folks about this, it's like you still got to have a lot of that accountability back to yourself and like, hey, clean it up, clean your laundry, straighten out your situation before you go telling people that they should be sacrificing more, because in reality, you could be giving them a little bit more time if you just structured your shit and became a professional a little bit better.
Right. How's that look for you, Ryan, with your wife and family and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Her coming back. Is she still working?
No, she is.
Okay.
She's about probably 4 weeks, 3 weeks if baby comes early, but 4 weeks away from having our second little boy.
Yeah.
And so, what Will was saying is so true. Especially with like the structure and time. I struggle sometimes with like being there but not necessarily present.
Of course. Yeah.
Mine's elsewhere, trying to think of like what I need to do. And that doesn't win for anyone, you know, and so that structure is super important.
You just got to have a tool there, right? So if you're thinking about like, man, what else could I be doing tomorrow or tonight or when the kids go to bed? Like Eli will tell you, like, you see my phone, I've got like the Smithsonian Museum of writing.
Yeah.
Not to that level of writing, but I've got like volume after volume after volume after volume of notes in my phone for years, and I get it out of my head. Like if there's something I want to do tomorrow or later on tonight, is something more that I could be doing or a thought that I had for a podcast or whatever, I get it out of my head. I get into my phone, because then when I'm there with my kids, I'm not trying to remember what I'm trying to remember that I'm going to go do in 2 hours. Yeah. Kind of like a bookmark in a book, right? You're going to stop reading, but if you shut the book, you might not remember where to go back to, so you bookmark it. Yeah. Dude, I literally take my thoughts and I just bookmark it into the notes in my phone so I can go back to it, and then it allows me. So it's just creating like these little tools, right, that allow you to just be more present.
100%. And it's something that I'm still just trying to figure out. Me and my wife are navigating that with this new schedule with real estate. It you seem like you should be having free time, but it's really not. No. So that's been a hard thing for us to navigate, is like what looks like free time is something like, especially getting into the business, like you got to be talking to people. And so we had conversations about like the gym, like, hey, why were you at the gym for 2 hours? It's like, well, I got caught up talking to people and letting them know what I'm doing now. And that's something that, she's super great about, but it's the communication of like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why it seems like maybe I'm not like going to closings every day and, and showing homes every single day, but like the things that I'm doing every day matter.
One thing I had to learn, bro, because I didn't communicate as well and tell her everything that I was doing. Yeah. So if you don't tell them what the hell you're doing all day, they have no idea.
Right.
Now Megan will see my calendar on my phone, and that thing is just stacked every single day. But what I had to get better at doing was, instead of just coming home and not wanting to talk about work or just internalizing all of it like I tend to do, was just forcing myself to articulate, hey, this is what we did this closing. This was this situation. This crazy thing happened, and then this happened. And it's just recapping the day, but if I didn't say any of that shit, she doesn't know I'm gone all day.
She
and
has
then
no idea.
And just painting the picture of like, hey, I'm doing this because this aligns with this, and when this happens, that works toward my goal.
Yeah.
And when I hit my goal, hey, we all win. So it's just really, man, it's like you just can't go home and tell your family you're busy.
Right.
No.
Like that gets worn out. Like you got to be able to have the conversation and just realize they're not trying to like investigate you. But a lot of times when you're stressed out and you're already heightened a little bit because you're new at something, like, oh, hey, what'd you do all day? You're already taking it guarded. Like someone is screening you or doubting you. And in reality, it's just like communicating more about what you were doing and why you were doing it. And like I did 7 deals out of the gym my first year of real estate.
Yeah.
I did 34 deals my first year, or 32, one of the two. Mildly interesting. The point was,
asterisk, results not typical.
but the point was, out of the gym alone, out of those 32 or 34 deals, 7 of them came from the gym. And it was just having deliberate conversations. And when people asked me how my day was, I told them about my day. When I was engaging with them, I was asking them about their day. And they were talking to me about, yeah, man, we're doing this framework or this roof, or we're doing, oh, man, Clay, I'm in real estate. Man, that's great. Like, no wonder why you're at the gym at 9 a.m. You kind of write your own schedule. And just relationships grew from there. And it was also great because I saw people 4 days a week on average We all go to the gym at the same time for the most part. You kind of have your little circle of friends that you say hi to there. And so I didn't have to rush them or push them when they're like, oh, yeah, we were thinking of buying or hey, we're thinking of selling, or hey, we were thinking of buying, had a couple of questions. It was like, great, here's my contact information, and yeah, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. What are you working out? You got back tomorrow? Yeah, me too. Cool. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. And let me know when would be a good time to talk about those questions you got. Here's my number. And because I saw them on a regular basis, I didn't have to pressure them.
Yeah.
I didn't have to oversell. Like someone asks you, oh, yeah, I got a couple real estate questions. Oh, really? Oh, put your weight down. Let's talk. Hey, we should go grab coffee right now. Oh, you're looking at no, it's a great time. It's a great time to buy. It's a great time to, like, you don't have to fuck that.
Yeah.
Right? But when you think you're not going to see somebody again and you're new at something, like you tend to jump and you work your way out of a deal, correct?
Right.
Versus like when you see people on a regular basis at a place like the gym, and they already kind of like know, like, and respect you and appreciate who you are and kind of have a feel for who you are. The fact that they're comfortable enough to even tell you that they've got some questions in real estate, they're already letting you know that they're open to you maybe doing that for them. Right. The best thing you can do is just give them your contact information and just allow that atmosphere to still be consistent. See them tomorrow. If they call in a day or so, hey, cool. And if you haven't heard from them in about a week, like you see them every day, but they haven't called for questions, and it's been about a week or so, you just go like, oh, hey, man, how's the real estate thing going? You guys still doing cool?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh, yeah, man, my wife's got a cousin in real estate, and I think she's going to go that direction. Hey, cool, man. Hey, if you guys still have questions, I'm still happy to help. Or for some reason, like, you guys aren't satisfied with the work that she does, hey, man, I'm here. I'm still here. Low stress. Oh, dude. Hey, appreciate that. Because no matter what, I don't want to ruin a relationship in the gym. Mm-hmm. The example I'm giving you is real. That happened to me. However, that guy referred one of his work buddies to me, and I did his deal.
Yeah.
So not overselling, not being weird when he said his wife has a cousin that's in the industry, and oh, well, man, the average realtor does 3 to 5 deals. Are you sure she's going to do okay? And oh, man, hey, man, you were talking to me. Like, if you get fucking weird, now you're making that relationship at the gym weird, and that's not cool. And it's like you had this expectation on someone, and that's not. Don't put expectations on people either. But the fact that I just was like, hey, man, I get that. That's cool. Because if I was someone's cousin, I'd hope they'd come to me. Yeah. So I'm not mad at that situation. And I can assume that just because she's a cousin means she sucks at real estate. I don't know. The bottom line was I wasn't going to make that atmosphere weird, right? And I didn't. And he ends up referring a coworker to me. But he also has friends in that gym, and we all kind of talk. And because I never sacrificed that atmosphere, I end up doing 7 deals out of that gym. So it's just understanding, like, just wanting people to win and just being here and being an opportunity and being a resource for people, but not being like just badgering them over it, right? Like, there's got to be a flow. But you're right, man. Some of the conversations you're having at the gym, hey, man, they matter. Like, when we talk about sales, it's relationships. Yep. And when we talk about relationships, it's very abstract. And you've got to be able to identify and understand the dynamic of opportunities and how to play the part of that. Because, like, when I did those 34 deals, bro, none of those were Zillow or Realtor.com or anything, right? Like, those were just in my sphere of influence, parents at my daughter's school and people I knew from the gym and people I knew on social media that I met in person, people that I knew on in person, getting them to look at my social media content. We grew it over time. It was not a lead generation system that I had to equate to those numbers, right? It was just me diving into my sphere. So understanding, like, that dynamic, it's important, and it's abstract. It's not, I show up here at 9 a.m., I do this, I do ABC, and then I leave here at 5 p.m. and go home and watch Jeopardy and eat cup noodles, right? Like, it's way more unscripted than that. Yeah. It's hard for people to understand. So communicating, it's important.
Yeah.
Ryan, I know you got a flight to catch, bro. Yeah. We'll have to do round 2.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Where getting the fuck out of here right now? You got an Uber for him?
I think so. I do.
That's how we roll, by the way, guys.
That's right.
I pick you up from the airport, but then you're going to drive your ass back.
That's right. That's right. Man, how can people reach you, bro?
Man, Instagram is Ryan Brightwell. Okay. Facebook, Ryan Charles Brightwell.
Cool. I swear to God, he looks like Florida Georgia Line.
I'm not that interesting.
And your last name is Brightwell. Come on. Can you be any more positive?
So cheery.
I know.
You get to see, pictures of my kid. And
that's right.
Super cute redheaded kid.
Fun?
And
Good, man.
Isn't that fun?
Absolutely, man.
Super fun.
Appreciate you being on, bro.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. That's day $1.0, guys.
Yeah, let's do a round 2. We'll do I know we've got a couple good points that we spoke about today, so we'll get off the mic right now. And I think next time we do the podcast, or maybe the time after that, we'll circle back around with some good friend stories and just giving yourself permission, and then just how we mitigate some of our circle, and how we ventured into new circles, and then our obligation to being a great person in that circle. And we'll talk about not only the people you want to put yourself around, but I think what I want to give you guys something today to think about at the end of this one, moving into the next one, is making sure you are a value add to that circle. It's not just what you could, because you don't want to inadvertently start making yourself a taker because you're so engaged on that stuff. You got to understand, as you get and you venture into these new circles, you've got to be a value add for other people as well, right? Like, that's super important. So with that being said, we'll cover that in the next podcast.
Hey,
you guys enjoy your Friday.
Speaking of value add, next time I come to Denver, whether I'm here for a visit or if I move here, I'm going to teach Will how to swing a golf club.
Oh, man.
Listen,
Hey, throw me on that list too, bro.
Let me just say this, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. If you're so good at your golf club swing,
You ain't doing deals.
I'm just wondering how many deals you're doing. Because if I'm looking at your golf swing, and you can look at my business, and we'll let.
Hey,
those two talk.
100%. I'm not ashamed of where my deals are right now. I'm new, so maybe the golf swing
Fair
it'll
enough.
fade away.
Fair
But for now,
Isn't he something? I fucking hey, listen
like
to me.
this
I
dude.
love young bucks that are coming up that are like hungry. Because I feel like that's how we are to Andy and Sal.
Yeah.
So when we got guys that are hungry at us, it keeps me fucking going. So when
like
you go to sleep tonight, I won't be sleeping. I'll be fucking working.
That's right.
Good,
That's
man.
right. All right, guys. Day $1.0 out.